Ash falls on Minas Tirith like black snow as the first sunless dawn breaks. The white city does not gleam, it smoulders. From the Pelennor to the Anduin, the land crawls with ordered ranks of iron and fire, banners of the Red Eye rippling in a wind that smells of sulphur and blood. On the horizon, beyond the burning fields, a second, deeper darkness gathers, as if the very sky is being drawn eastward toward a single will that has awoken too soon. If you enjoy sinking into these darker paths through Middle-earth, remember to like and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Tell me in the comments which realm you would stand for in this timeline and where in our world you are watching from. Now, let us see how the world breaks when Mordor is ready before anyone else is. It begins years before that ash falls, when the Shire still sleeps in peace and Gandalf rides alone beneath quiet stars. For in this timeline, Sauron does not spend long decades groping in the dark, searching for his ring by rumor and guess. He is patient, but he is not idle. The eye does not simply watch from the high tower of Barad-dûr it reaches. In the deep pits beneath Gorgoroth, where the fumes of Orodruin coil like living things, Sauron bends his thought westward with a fierceness that shakes the foundations of his own land. He has learned from his fall in Númenor, from his defeat before the last alliance. He will not again allow scattered captains, divided tongues, and petty jealousies to delay his war. He will unite Mordor first. The Nazgûl ride earlier, and they ride not as hunters, but as heralds. One rides south, cloaked in shadow, over the Ephel-Duath and into the black lands of Nir-Harad. He does not come with empty hands. He brings gold, iron, and promises. At his back follow emissaries of Umbar, swayed long ago by whispers from the east, and priests of dark cults that never quite died after Sauron's first fall. In the red tents of the Haradrim chieftains, the air hot with incense and sweat, arguments rise like the desert wind. "We owe no master in the north," snarls one warlord, his beard braided with gold rings. "Our spears have defended these sands since before Gondor crawled from the sea." The Nazgûl does not answer with words. He removes his gauntlet, bares his hand, and lays it upon the chief's chest. For a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then the man screams. Before the watching warbands, his flesh blackens under that touch, veins turning to dark lines as if ink is poured beneath the skin. His eyes go wide, then empty. He falls, smoke coiling from his mouth. Silence falls in the tent. Men who have faced lions and corsairs without fear now stare, trembling at the empty hood. A voice like cold iron scraping stone fills their minds. Choose, serve willingly or serve as he does. The corpse twitches, its eyes open, now reflecting a dull red glow. It struggles to its feet, jaw working. "My lord," it croaks, bowing to the Nazgûl. That night, under a sky thick with stars that seem suddenly far away, the Haradrim swear oaths not only from fear, but from a new, cold understanding. Sauron can claim they're dead. He can claim their very wills. Better to ride for him with bright banners than march for him as empty husks. In the east, another Nazgûl moves among the Easterlings. Not with terror, but with prophecy. He appears in dreams to the priests of Rhûn, in the smoke of their sacrificial fires, in the still water of their sacred lakes. He speaks in their own tongue of the one from the west, who will break their arrogance of Gondor and lift up the forgotten peoples. He reminds them of ancient grievances, of tribute demanded by distant kings, of borders drawn across their grazing lands by men who never walked there. At last, he comes in the flesh to a great gathering by the Sea of Rhûn. Thousands stand upon the shore, the wind off the water cold and sharp. There, he offers them something Sauron never offered in the old timeline: partnership. "Your chieftains will rule the East in my master's name," he says, his voice like a blade. "Your sons will command his armies. Your banners will fly beside his. Gondor will fall, and the West will bow. This is not conquest. This is correction. They believe him because they wish to, and because he has chosen his words with the care of one who once was a great king of men." In Khand, emissaries bring steel and grain, healing herbs and knowledge of irrigation to drought-stricken lands in exchange for oaths of fealty. In the dark forests beyond, creatures that once skulked alone are gathered and bound to a single command. While the West debates and delays, Mordor builds alliances. Within the Black Land itself, Sauron does something he has not done since the height of his power in the Second Age. He calls all his captains to Barad-dûr. The fortress is not yet whole, but its rebuilt towers rise like jagged teeth against the red glow of Orodruin. In the Great Hall, lit by rivers of molten rock flowing in channels cut through the black stone, stand the lords of all the dark things that will answer his summons. Gothmog of Minas Morgul, the lieutenant of Morgul, pale and cruel, his armor slick with an unwholesome sheen. The mouth of Sauron, tall and robed, his face hidden, his voice honeyed and venomous. Great Uruk chiefs from the breeding pits of Gorgoroth, their yellow eyes wary as they eye one another. Ambassadors of Umbar with sea salt still in their cloaks. Haradrim warlords with scimitars at their hips. Easterling princes with braids bound in iron. Even Saruman is there, though not in the flesh. His image shimmers in a darkened mirror at the foot of the throne, his staff held like a scepter, his eyes calculating. Above them all, the eye burns in the air, a lidless, devouring flame. You squabble over scraps. Sauron's voice rolls through the hall, a sound more felt than heard. You fight for plunder and petty glories, while the West rebuilds its walls, and songs of Elendil are still sung in the high halls of stone. He lets the memory of his last defeat hang in the air, a taste of ash. "I will not rise again to fall to a broken sword and a fading line. You will not march as scattered packs and rival bands. You will march as one." Gothmog's lip curls. "Orcs do not take orders from men," he growls. The eye flares. "You will take orders from me," Sauron answers, and the very stones tremble. "You will take them through the mouths I choose, and you will obey, or you will be unmade. Your kind is mine, wrought in my thought in the beginning. Do not forget it." Gothmog drops to one knee, his eyes smoking. The mouth of Sauron steps forward, bowing low. "My lord," he murmurs, "give me leave to speak with one voice to all lands. Bind their tongues to mine, that your will may move swifter than any horse." Sauron has already decided. He has watched the West for long years. He has seen how they are slowed by counsels, by oaths, by memories of honor. He will not be slowed. "From this day," he proclaims, "Minas Morgul is my western gate, and Gorgoroth my hammer. But Barad-dûr is my heart. All commands, all tidings pass through this hall. The Nazgûl will be my fingers, the mouth my tongue. There will be no more delays." Saruman's image flickers, his brows drawn together. This is not the Mordor he expected to manipulate and outwit. This is a single, focused weapon. He smiles anyway. "Most wise Lord Sauron," he says, his voice smooth. While you forge your unity, I will weaken the West from within. Rohan is divided. Gondor is leaderless. Give me time, and I will deliver them to you already broken. Sauron does not fully trust him. He never has. But in this timeline, he does not need to. His own house will be in order. Saruman will be a tool, not a crutch. Do not delay, the eye warns. The ring is abroad. I feel it faintly, like a coal beneath ash. Find it if you can. If you cannot, I will. Far to the northwest, in a little green land under gentle rain, a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins still finds a plain gold ring in the dark of a goblin tunnel. He still slips it into his pocket, still uses it to vanish from unwanted company, still brings it home to Bag End and calls it his birthday present. The difference is not in him. The difference is in who is watching. Sauron's gaze, sharpened by his new discipline, sweeps the lands with a relentless rhythm. He has no ring to focus his power, but he has learned to stretch his thought farther and more subtly than before. He listens to whispers in taverns in Bree, to the dreams of small folk who never knew they were interesting. He sends lesser spirits, unbodied and unseen, to drift along the Great East Road, to linger in the prancing pony, to haunt the edges of the Shire. One of these catches a glimpse, just once, of a hobbit disappearing in a puff of dust and startled curses outside the Green Dragon. It takes years for that small sighting to be weighed and considered amidst the flood of tidings that now pour into Barad-dûr. But in this timeline, there is a place for such things to be weighed. There is a council of a sort. In Mordor now, a constant gathering of captains and spies, of orc scouts and human traitors, all reporting to the mouth. In a black-lit chamber lined with maps of Middle-earth, pins and threads marking alliances and roads, the mouth of Sauron listens as a pale spy from Bree stammers out his tale. "Ah, a small one, Lord, not a child. Hairy feet. He vanished. One moment he were there, the next he were not. And folk said it were not the first time. The mouth's teeth flash in the gloom. Ah, halfling, he murmurs. So the wise did not destroy them all. He goes at once to the seeing stone that Sauron keeps in a deep vault. It is not the Master Stone, but it is enough. Sauron's thought meets his there, and through it the Dark Lord looks west. Show me this Shire, Sauron commands. Hedges, fields, little round doors under hills, smoke from chimneys. Laughter, a world untouched by the great wars of men and elves. How fitting, Sauron says, his voice like a knife drawn slowly across a whetstone. That which undid me hides in a land that does not even know my name. He does not yet know which hobbit bears the ring. He does not yet know the name Baggins, but he knows now where to look. The first shift in this world is almost imperceptible. A few more black birds circling high above the Shire. A trader from Bree who asks, too casually, if anyone has heard tales of magic rings. A shadow on the greenway that makes even rangers uneasy. Gandalf, when he rides into Hobbiton in a cart jingling with fireworks, feels a faint prickle at the back of his neck. He looks east toward a line of distant blue hills, and beyond them to where the world ends in shadow. He is not yet afraid. But he is less at ease. He still suspects the ring, still casts it into the fire in Bag End, while Frodo watches the letters of fire appear. He still rides to Minas Tirith to search the scrolls. He still learns the truth in the dust of that great library, his hands shaking as he reads of the One. But the time between these acts is shorter. In the original timeline, Sauron's scattered servants and his own slow gathering of strength gave Gandalf years to ponder, to doubt, to investigate. Here, Mordor's unity means that information moves faster. So does fear. When Gandalf leaves the Shire after Bilbo's party, he is already uneasy. When he returns to throw the ring into Frodo's small hand and say, "Keep it secret, keep it safe," his sense of urgency is sharper, because he has heard rumors from the south that trouble him. Rangers speak of Haradrim moving north earlier than usual, in greater numbers, not as raiders, but as organized companies. Gondor's beacons have been seen lit and then darkened again, as if tests are being made. There are tales of Easterling caravans laden not with goods, but with weapons, moving west along old roads. Gandalf does not yet know the full shape of Sauron's new design, but he feels the tremor of it, like the first shiver before an earthquake. Meanwhile, in Mordor, the forges burn day and night. The unification of Mordor is not just political, it is industrial. Sauron commands that the slag heaps of Gorgoroth be reworked, the furnaces deepened, the bellows enlarged. Orcs and slaves labor under the lash, their sweat hissing as it hits the hot stone. Great chains rattle as siege towers are tested, their iron wheels crushing bones that no one bothers to sweep aside. In the valley of Udun, where once there was only a gate and a guard, a new mustering ground spreads like a stain. Barracks rise, crude but functional. Training yards echo with the clash of steel. Orcs drill not as mobs, but as units. They learn formations, signals, coordinated strikes. Easterling cavalry practice charges beside them, their curved bows singing. Haradrim oliphants are brought north and broken to war under black iron howdahs. Sauron has studied Gondor's strengths, its walls, its discipline, its use of combined arms. He will not send his hordes in blind waves this time. He will break the West as it understands war, not as it caricatures his. In Minas Tirith, Denethor sits upon the steward's chair, his mind already gnawed by the palantir he keeps secret. He sees many of these preparations, for Sauron allows him to. The Dark Lord no longer fears that his enemy will gain advantage from knowing his strength. He wants Denethor to see, to despair, to act in haste. Denethor sees the mustering of Mordor and the gathering of allies. He sees Haradrim and Easterlings drilling together under a single banner. He sees black sails in Umbar's harbour, hung with the red eye beside the ship and stars. He does not see everything. Sauron shows him enough to terrify, not enough to enlighten. Denethor's hands tighten on the arms of the chair. His knuckles whiten. "They come sooner than I thought," he whispers, alone in the high chamber. "We are not ready. Thorongil, where are you?" In the north, Aragorn, who has not yet revealed himself in Gondor, feels a sudden restlessness. The whispers among the Dunedain are darker. There are more Orcrades in the Weather Hills, more strange movements near the old road to Tharbad. The Grey Company ranges farther and returns with harder eyes. When Gandalf at last returns to the Shire, breathless from his ride out of Minas Tirith, he does so with a different weight in his saddle. He does not have the luxury to leave Frodo with the ring for 17 years to ponder and delay. In this world, he has seen in Denethor's eyes a fear that will not wait. He tests the ring in Bag End sooner. The letters of fire flare, and he does not hide his dread. "This is the one ring, Frodo," he says, his voice raw. "Sauron's ring. The enemy's." Frodo's hands shake. But it has been here, in the Shire, for 60 years. And in that time, Sauron has been gathering his strength, Gandalf answers. He has been waking. He has been uniting all the dark things that once scattered at the name of Elendil. He is ready, Frodo, more ready than we are. That is why you must go, and go soon. Soon means days, not months. Samwise Gamgee is still caught eavesdropping at the window, still dragged in by Gandalf, his eyes round with terror and excitement. Merry and Pippin still blunder into the conspiracy, but their happy, bumbling preparations are truncated. There is less time for maps and jokes, more for hurried packing and whispered goodbyes. The Shire does not have time to sense that something is wrong. It is still green and peaceful when Frodo slips away with his friends. The gaffer still grumbles about gentlefolk moving out of their nice holes. The danger that follows them is closer. In the original timeline, Sauron sent the Nazgul to the Shire ignorant of the exact location of the ring and of the name Baggins. They arrived in stages. They hunted by rumor. They were delayed by the Rangers. Here, Mordor's unified intelligence has done more work. The spy in Bree did not only mention a disappearing hobbit. He mentioned a name overheard at the bar, Baggins. He mentioned a direction, west toward the Shire. He mentioned a gardener called Gamgee, who talked more than he should when the ale flowed. By the time Frodo leaves Bag End, 9 riders have already crossed the Isen. They do not wander. They ride straight for Hobbiton. They arrive 2 days after Frodo departs. A black horse's hooves clatter on the stones of Bagshot Row. The afternoon is bright, the sky blue. Children play in the lane, their laughter dying as the rider approaches. He smells of cold and damp, of grave earth and iron. He stops before Bag End and turns his hooded head toward the round green door. Baggins, he hisses, the word like a breath of winter. Shire. Baggins. The gaffer, who has been trimming the hedge, straightens, his shears clutched in his hand. His heart stutters, but his hobbit stubbornness rises. "Now, see here," he says, his voice shaking only a little. "There is no Mr. Baggins here now. He has moved away, and you have no call to be riding about scaring decent folk." The Nazgul's head tilts. For a moment, there is almost curiosity in that empty hood. Moved, the voice whispers. "Where?" The gaffer swallows. He remembers the stories of the big folk from his youth. He thinks this one looks like a man, tall and cloaked. He does not know what he is really facing. He thinks it is only rudeness. "Buckland," he blurts. He has gone to Buckland. He has. To his kin. The Nazgul does not thank him. He rides away without a word. Behind him, the shadows seem to lengthen. The gaffer stands, his shears hanging limp, and feels suddenly very, very cold. Because Mordor is united, there is no delay in passing this information on. The Nazgul does not act as an isolated hunter. As he rides east toward Buckland, he sends his thought back along the dark road to his master. The name Baggins, the word Shire, the place Buckland, all are added to Mordor's growing web of knowledge. In Barad-dûr, Sauron's attention sharpens again. A halfling named Baggins, he muses. In Buckland, he remembers Isildur's scroll. He remembers the note about a creature called Gollum, tortured in the dungeons of Mordor, whispering Shah. Baggins, now it fits. Send all 9, Sauron commands. Do not lose him. In the original tale, 4 Nazgul rode into the Shire while the others took different paths. Here, all 9 converge, because there is no rival agenda, no confusion, no delay. The mouth of Sauron coordinates them like fingers of a hand closing on a single point. Frodo and his companions still cross the fields under the stars. They still hide from a black rider under the roots of a tree, the smell of cold and decay making them shiver. But that rider is not probing blindly. He is part of a net. The hobbits still find their way to Farmer Maggot's, to the ferry at Buckleberry. They still slip across the Brandywine as black horses splash into the water behind them. But as they scramble up the far bank, hearts pounding, they see more riders gathering on the eastern shore, their number greater, their formation tighter. They cannot cross the water, Sam gasps, relief flooding him. For a moment, it seems true. The Nazgul draw back from the river's edge, the water churning as their horses rear. Then one of them rides in, slowly, deliberately. The horse screams, but the rider's will is stronger. It forces the beast forward, step by dragon step, into the cold current. The other riders follow. On the far bank, Frodo watches in horror as the 9 begin to cross the Brandywine, their black cloaks darkening with river water, their forms wavering but not stopping. "They are coming," Merry whispers. "They are crossing," Pippin whimpers. "What do we do?" Frodo's hand strays to the ring in his pocket. It feels heavier, hotter. A voice in his mind whispers that if he puts it on, they will not see him. He almost does. Gandalf is not there. In this world, he has been delayed not by Saruman's treachery alone, but by a different trap. When he rode to Isengard to seek counsel, Saruman was more prepared. He had seen more of Sauron's unification through his own Palantir. He had already turned more fully to the dark. His armies in the Westfold were mustering earlier, his Uruk-hai breeding sooner. When Gandalf arrived, Saruman did not waste time with long monologues. He imprisoned him swiftly atop Orthanc, then turned his gaze outward, coordinating with Mordor through the Seeing Stones. Gandalf escaped with Gwaihir's help, but the timing was altered. He reached Bree too late to meet the hobbits at the Prancing Pony. In the original timeline, Aragorn found them there. In this one, events diverge. On the east bank of the Brandywine, with the Nazgul closing, the hobbits do not meet Strider in a smoky common room. They meet him in the dark on the road. As they flee from the river, crashing through underbrush, they almost run into him. He steps out of the trees, tall and grim, his hand on the hilt of his sword. "Stop," he commands, and they skid to a halt, gasping. "Who are you?" Frodo demands, his voice high with fear. "A friend," Aragorn answers. "Gandalf sent me, though he is late. There is no time. The 9 are on you. Come." They do not have the luxury of suspicion. Behind them, the screech of the Nazgul tears the night. Aragorn drives them hard through marsh and woodland, taking paths that even he would not normally risk at night. The Nazgul, coordinated, do not simply chase in a straight line. They spread out, trying to surround, to cut off. At Weathertop, the first major turning point comes. In the original tale, Aragorn and the hobbits reached Amansul after several days of tense travel, with the Nazgul closing. They had time to rest, to talk, to watch the stars. Here they arrive exhausted, half falling up the hill, the sound of hooves already echoing from the plain. "We will make a stand here," Aragorn says, his voice like iron. "We cannot outrun them any farther." Frodo's legs shake. His lungs burn. He looks up at the ruined tower, its stones pale in the moonlight, and feels suddenly very small. "Can we hold it?" Sam asks, gripping his little sword. Aragorn does not lie. "I do not know. They light no fire." They crouch among the tumbled stones, listening to the wind. The night is clear, the stars sharp. For a moment, there is silence. Then 9 black shapes appear on the slopes below, moving with terrible purpose. "They have come together," Aragorn whispers, horror in his eyes. "All 9. In the original world, 5 Nazgul attacked at Weathertop. The others were elsewhere. Even so, Frodo was wounded nearly unto death. Here, the full might of the 9 descends. They do not rush in. They circle the hill, cutting off every path. Their voices rise in a thin, keening chant, a language older than the tongues of men, a litany of domination and despair. The air grows colder. The hobbit's breath steams. Frodo feels the ring like a weight around his neck, though he has kept it in his pocket. It pulses in time with his heartbeat. He hears a voice in his mind. Not his own. "Come to me," it whispers. "I am your master. I will take your fear. I will make you unseen, safe." He claps his hands over his ears, but the voice is inside. Aragorn stands, his sword drawn, his eyes blazing. He knows he cannot win. He knows that against all 9, even a great warrior of old would fall. But he also knows that if Frodo is taken here, all is lost. "Stay behind me," he says. "Whatever happens, stay back." The Nazgul close in, black cloaks billowing. In the center, taller than the rest, the Witch King of Angmar raises his sword. It glows with a pale, sickly light. "Come, Númenorian," he hisses. "Last of a ragged house. Die as your fathers died." Aragorn's jaw tightens. "I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn," he replies. "And if I fall, I will fall, buying time for those you fear." The Witch King laughs, a sound like ice cracking on a winter river. They rush in. The battle on Weathertop in this world is not a brief, desperate scuffle. It is a full assault. Aragorn moves like a man possessed, his sword flashing, his torch a wheel of fire. He drives back one Nazgul, then another, his blade ringing on their mail. Sparks fly. The hobbits, terrified, stab at shadowed legs, their small blades biting surprisingly deep. But 9 is too many. A black mace smashes into Aragorn's side. He staggers, ribs snapping. Blood fills his mouth. He falls to one knee. "Strider!" Pippin screams. The Witch King steps forward, his blade raised, the pale light of his Morgul knife reflecting in Aragorn's eyes. Then Frodo does the one thing Gandalf begged him not to do. In his terror, in his desperation to save Aragorn, he slips the ring onto his finger. The world shifts. The Nazgul's forms blaze into clarity, tall and terrible, crowned and armored, their eyes pits of hunger. Frodo sees the Witch King's face, pale and cruel beneath an iron crown. He sees a hand reaching for him, long fingers like talons. "Mine," the Witch King whispers, not aloud, but in Frodo's mind. At last, he stabs. The Morgul blade sinks into Frodo's shoulder, nearer his heart than in the original tale. Its cold goes deep, a shard of the Wraithworld driven into his flesh. Frodo screams, the sound echoing both in the seen and unseen realms. Aragorn, half blinded with pain, sees Frodo fall. Something in him breaks free. With a roar, he hurls himself forward, slamming his torch into the Witch King's face. Fire bursts, licking at the invisible crown. The Witch King reels back, shrieking. The other Nazgul close ranks around their lord, their attention momentarily divided. They did not expect such resistance from a single man and 4 halflings. It is enough. Aragorn drags Frodo back, Sam and Merry and Pippin hacking at reaching hands. They scramble toward a narrow cleft in the hill, a place where the stones form a bottleneck. Aragorn sets himself there, gasping, his sword dripping black blood that steams where it falls. "Come then," he snarls, his voice hoarse. "Come and take him." The Nazgul press forward, but the space is tight. They cannot bring their full numbers to bear. For a few terrible minutes, Aragorn holds them, his blade a flicker of steel in the dark. The hobbits behind him clutch Frodo, whose face is ashen, his breath shallow. "Strider," Frodo whispers, his voice thin. "Do not. Let them have it. I will not." Aragorn grits out. The Witch King, his hood smouldering, steps back. He reassesses. He has no desire to risk his own destruction here, not when the ring is so near and so wounded. He can feel it, throbbing on Frodo's finger. It's called to his master a beacon. He does not need to kill them all now. He only needs to ensure that Frodo's wound does its work. "Fall back," he commands the others. "Let the poison have him. Let them crawl to their elf lords. We will follow. We will take him when he is weaker." In the original timeline, the Witch King retreated when Aragorn drove him back with fire, misjudging the strength of his own weapon. Here, he retreats by choice, as part of a larger design. He knows Barad-dûr will be informed of every move. He knows that other forces are already in motion. As the Nazgûl withdraw into the night, their cries fading, Aragorn collapses beside Frodo. His side burns, his head swims. He looks at the hobbit's pale face and feels dread like he has never known. "We must get you to Rivendell," he says, his voice shaking. "At once! Can he live?" Sam asks, tears in his eyes. Aragorn does not answer. The journey from Weathertop to the Ford of Bruinen is a longer nightmare than in the original tale. Frodo is more gravely wounded. The shard of the Morgul blade is lodged nearer his heart. His grip on the waking world is weaker. He slips into the Wraith world more often, his eyes going distant, his hand clutching at the air as if reaching for something only he can see. Aragorn, himself injured, pushes them on, every step an act of will. He knows that in this timeline, they are not only racing the slow poison in Frodo's veins. They are racing a coordinated pursuit. The Nazgûl do not wander. They shadow the company from a distance, communicating with one another, reporting back to Barad-dûr. Sauron watches through their eyes, through the Palantiri, through lesser spirits that flit along the paths. In Rivendell, Elrond feels the pressure of that gaze even before the hobbits arrive. The valley is still hidden, still warded by ancient power, but the shadows on the mountains seem deeper. The Bruinen runs swift and cold, its voice troubled. The birds are quieter. Elrond stands on a balcony, looking east. His face is grave. "Sauron moves sooner than I foresaw," he says to Glorfindel. "His servants are united. They do not bicker and fail as they did before. This will not be a war of scattered blows. It will be a single, crushing fist." Glorfindel's golden hair stirs in the breeze. "Then we must be swifter still," he answers. "There is word from Aragorn. They come, and the ring-bearer is wounded." Elrond closes his eyes briefly. When he opens them, there is steel in them. "Prepare the ford," he says, "and ready the house. We will need all our skill." At the Ford of Bruinen, the second major turning point of this altered world crashes down. In the original tale, Arwen, or Glorfindel, depending on the version, bore Frodo to the ford, drawing the Nazgûl into the river where Elrond and Gandalf unleashed the flood. Here, the Nazgûl are more cautious. They remember the power of Elrond Half-Elven. They know that the river is warded, but they are also more numerous, and they have greater support. As Aragorn and the hobbits stagger toward the ford, Frodo slumped across Asphalot's back. They see not only 9 black riders behind them, but also a dark mass on the far bank. Orcs, a raiding party from the Misty Mountains, drawn by orders sent from Mordor weeks ago, waits in the trees. They do not need to defeat Rivendell's power. They only need to add confusion. "Go!" Aragorn shouts, slapping Asphalot's flank. The white horse surges forward, hooves pounding. The Nazgul close in, their shrieks slicing the air. The orcs on the far bank howl and surge toward the water's edge, arrows nocked. Frodo, half conscious, hears the Witch King's voice in his mind again. "Come back to me," it croons. "You cannot escape. The river will not save you. The Elf Lord's house will fall. Come now, and your friends will be spared." He clutches the ring, his fingers numb. His will is a flickering candle in a storm. On the heights above, Elrond and Gandalf stand side by side. Gandalf has reached Rivendell by eagle, his staff still bearing scorch marks from his escape from Orthanc. He is late, but not too late. "They have orcs with them," he growls. Sauron coordinates his servants. He has learned. Elrond's jaw tightens. Then we will show him that some lessons were learned on both sides. He raises his hands. Gandalf lifts his staff. The Bruinen rises. In the original tale, the flood took the Nazgul by surprise, overwhelming them. Here, they sense the rising power and try to pull back. The Witch King shouts commands. Some of the riders wheel away from the water's edge, but Elrond has timed it well. The river comes not as a sudden wall, but as a surging, twisting force, shaped by ancient will. It curls around the Nazgul, cutting off retreat, driving them into the deepest part of the ford. It leaps the banks where the orcs stand, sweeping them away in a chaos of limbs and screams. Gandalf adds his own flair, shaping the waves into the form of white horses and riders, their manes like foam, their eyes blazing. They crash into the black horses, rearing and striking. The Nazgul are swept away, their forms dissolving, their shrieks fading. On the bank, Aragorn collapses, sobbing with relief. Sam falls to his knees, clutching Frodo's hand. Frodo does not respond. His eyes are closed. His skin is grey. "Is he?" Pippin whispers. "No," Gandalf says, rushing down the slope, his robes flapping. "Not yet, but the shard is deep. Elrond must work quickly. The Council of Elrond in this world takes place under a darker cloud. Frodo survives." Elrond, with all his skill, draws the shard from near the Hobbit's heart. But it was closer than before. A sliver of the Wraith world has already touched Frodo's spirit. He wakes weaker, more easily drawn by the ring's call. His recovery takes longer. Days stretch into weeks. During that time, tidings pour into Rivendell, each more troubling than the last. In the south, Sauron moves. Because Mordor is united, he does not wait for the ring to come to him before unleashing his full war. He does not fear that his enemies will rally if he moves too soon. He intends to break them before they can form any true alliance. The armies of Harad, Rhûn, Khand and Mordor march together. In Ithilien, Faramir, not yet captain of the Rangers, but already a leader, watches from the shadows of the woods as a host moves up the Harad road. He sees not a ragtag band of raiders, but a disciplined column. Haradrim's spearmen march in ranks, their red and gold banners furled. Easterling cavalry ride beside them, their armor gleaming. Behind them trundle siege engines, great towers on wheels covered in iron. And among them, in ordered companies, march orcs and uruks, their crude armor uniform, their weapons of standardized make. He feels a chill. This is not like before. He murmurs to his lieutenant. They have learned. Someone has taught them war. He sends word to Minas Tirith, but he knows that Denethor already sees more than he can report. The steward's eyes are hollow. He spends more and more hours in the White Tower, staring into something no one else sees. In Rohan, Saruman's treachery unfolds more swiftly. With Mordor unified behind him, he does not need to hedge his bets. He sends his Uruk-hai to raid the Westfold earlier, burning villages, slaughtering peasants, driving Theoden's people into fear and anger. Wormtongue's whispers find more fertile ground. The king's will is sapped faster, his isolation deeper. Gandalf, trapped in Orthanc for a shorter time but facing a more active Saruman, understands sooner that the White Wizard is wholly lost. He rides to Rohan as soon as he can, but the mark of Isengard's hand is already heavier on the land. At the council in Rivendell, these tidings weigh on every word. Representatives from all free peoples gather: Elrond and Gandalf, Glóin and his son Gimli, Legolas from Mirkwood, Boromir from Gondor, Aragorn from the north. Even a man from Dale comes, speaking of strange movements near Erebor, of messengers from the east. Frodo sits among them, pale but resolute, the ring heavy on a chain around his neck. They speak of the ring, of Sauron's strength, of the need to destroy the one in the fire where it was forged. This much is the same. What is different is the sense of time. In the original tale, there was debate, even argument. Boromir made his case for using the ring. Elrond spoke long of history. Here, their words are shorter, their voices harder. Boromir stands, his grey eyes burning. "My city is already under threat," he says. "The armies of the east and south march together. Our scouts report that the Black Gate is not merely guarded, it is open. Forces pour forth in ordered ranks. We cannot wait for some desperate errand into Mordor. We must strike now, with all our strength, while we still have walls to stand behind." "Strike where?" Aragorn asks quietly. "At Mordor itself? You know as well as I that even in the days of Elendil and Gil-galad, with all their hosts, they could not take Barad-dûr without the ring on their side. Now Sauron is stronger than he was then. His allies are united. We are divided, and we will remain divided if we send the ring away with a handful of companions into the very teeth of his power." Boromir retorts, "He will crush us in the meantime. Gondor will fall. Then Rohan. Then all the lands east of the mountains. What will your ring-bearer return to, even if he succeeds? A wasteland of ashes?" The question hangs in the air. It is not unreasonable. Gandalf's brows knit. "If we use the ring, we will become as he is," he says. "You know this, son of Denethor. You have seen what a lesser ring did to your brother's strength. The one will not obey you. It will corrupt you, and through you, all you seek to save." Boromir's jaw tightens. He thinks of Denethor's haunted eyes, of Faramir's quiet nobility, of the weight of a city's hope on his shoulders. "Then what would you have us do?" he demands. "Sit in our White City and wait for the hammer to fall while a hobbit walks into the heart of darkness? It is madness." Elrond raises a hand. "We speak of desperate choices," he says. "There is no path that is not perilous. But the ring cannot be used. That is the one certainty. If Sauron recovers it, all is ended. If we keep it, he will find us, for his eye sweeps the world. Only in its unmaking is there hope." Frodo looks down at the ring in his hand. It seems to grow in his palm, its surface reflecting not the firelight of the council chamber, but a red glare from some other place. He hears Sauron's voice, faint but insistent. "You cannot hide," it whispers. "You cannot run. They will all die for you. Give yourself to me, and I will spare them. I will make you a prince in my new world. You will never be small again." His fingers tremble. "I will take the ring," he says, his voice barely audible. Then, stronger, "I will take the ring to Mordor. Though I do not know the way." In this world, there is less surprise at his words and more grim acceptance. They all know that they are placing the fate of Middle-earth on the shoulders of someone so small. Aragorn steps forward at once. "If by my life or death I can protect you, I will," he says. "You have my sword." Legolas adds his bow, Gimli his axe, Boromir his horn and shield. The hobbits, of course, refuse to be left behind. The Fellowship is formed, but their task is harder and the time shorter. As they set out from Rivendell, the armies of Mordor are already in motion on multiple fronts. In the south, a great host crosses the Anduin at Caer Andros, their black banners reflected in the river. In the east, Easterlings march through the Brownlands, their drums echoing off the Emyn Muil. In the north, messengers ride to Dol Guldur, where Sauron's lieutenant commands a garrison of orcs and dark things, now fully integrated into the larger war plan. In Dol Guldur, Camul the Easterling, second of the Nazgul, stands on the high balcony, looking west. He has received new orders. "Do not simply harry the elves of Lorien," Sauron's voice has commanded him. "Strike. Take the Golden Wood if you can. Burn it if you cannot. I will not have Galadriel's power unchallenged while the ring moves." In the original timeline, Dol Guldur's assault on Lorien was delayed and half-hearted, part of a broader distraction. Here, it is a spear aimed at the heart of elven resistance. Galadriel, in her mirror, sees the shadow moving sooner. She sees black banners at the edge of her borders, hears the tramp of disciplined feet. She also sees the Fellowship, small figures on a great white plain, trudging south. "They come into a world more dark than they know," she murmurs. Celeborn's hand finds hers. "Can we aid them?" he asks. "We can hold the shadow here," she answers. "For a time. That may be all the aid we can give." The Fellowship's journey through Hollin and over Caradhras is harder in this world. Sauron's unified command means that the weather itself is more actively turned against them. Storms gather faster, winds shift more suddenly. Caradhras is not merely a cruel mountain, it is a weapon. Snow falls in blinding sheets, driven by a malice that feels almost personal. They turn to Moria not only because the Redhorn Gate is impassable, but because Orc scouts have already been sighted on the western slopes, part of a wider net searching for any sign of the ring. In Moria, the doom of Balin's colony is the same. The drums in the deep still sound, the cave troll still bursts through the door, the Balrog still rises in fire and shadow on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Gandalf still falls. But his last words are different. As he clings to the edge of the broken bridge, the Balrog's whip coiled around his legs. He looks up at Frodo, at Aragorn, at the Fellowship. "Fly, you fools," he says. Then, more softly, his eyes on Aragorn. "The enemy is more ready than we. You must be swifter than you think you can be." He falls, and the Fellowship runs, their hearts broken. In Lothlorien, they find some respite, but less than in the original tale. The Golden Wood is already under siege. As they approach, weary and grief-stricken, they hear the clash of arms. The borders of Lorien are ringed with fire. Orcs and Easterlings press against the outer fences, their arrows flaming. Elven archers move through the trees like ghosts, their arrows singing, their songs of battle rising. Haldir meets the Fellowship with blood on his cloak and a grim set to his jaw. "You come in a dark hour," he says, "but you are welcome. We will bring you to the lady. Be swift and be silent." The enemy's eyes are everywhere. In Caras Galadon, beneath the golden malon trees, Galadriel's light still shines. But her face is more drawn, her eyes more distant. She has been pouring her strength into the defense of her realm. She speaks to each member of the Fellowship, as before, testing their hearts, offering them visions. To Frodo, she shows a Middle-earth under Sauron's dominion, its skies black, its rivers poisoned. But in this world, that vision is closer to reality already. He sees Minas Tirith besieged not by a single army, but by 3, each bearing different banners, but all under one command. He sees Rohan's plains trampled by both Orc and Easterling horse. He sees Dale and Erebor ringed by siege engines from Rhûn. He shudders. "Is this what will be?" he whispers. "It is what may be," Galadriel answers. "In some parts of the world, it is already beginning. Your task is not to prevent all darkness. That is beyond you. Your task is to strike at its heart, even as it spreads." He offers her the ring, as before. She refuses as before, but her temptation is sharper because the need is greater. "In a world where Sauron is less prepared, I might have more time to resist such a gift," she says, almost to herself. "In this one, I must refuse it at once, or be lost." She passes the test. She remains Galadriel. The Fellowship leaves Lorien sooner than they might have wished. Galadriel cannot spare many boats or guards. She needs every hand on her borders. She gives them lembas, cloaks, and a phial of her light, as in the original tale. But she also gives Aragorn a look that holds both hope and sorrow. "You will be needed in the wars of men sooner than you think," she tells him. "Your path and the ring-bearers will diverge. Be ready to choose." On the Anduin, as they drift south, the sense of being hunted is stronger. Sauron's unified command has sent not only orcs to watch the river, but also men loyal to him, disguised as fishermen, as traders. Black-feathered arrows occasionally hiss from the reeds, testing their defenses. The great river feels narrower, its banks more dangerous. At Parth Galen, on the western shore of Nen Hithol, the breaking of the Fellowship is more violent. Boromir's struggle with the ring is intensified by the pressure of his father's messages, carried by swift riders and by dreams. Denethor, seeing through the palantir that the ring has left Rivendell, has sent his son urgent pleas. "Bring it to Minas Tirith." The steward's voice has echoed in Boromir's mind. "Bring it to our city. If we must fall, let us fall with the greatest weapon in our hands, not hidden in some dark land. We are the last bastion. We have the right." Boromir loves his city. He loves his father. He loves his people. The ring whispers to him that he can save them. At Parth Galen, when he finds Frodo alone, his plea is more desperate, his fall swifter. "By our blood, by our toil, we have held the enemy at bay for generations," he says, his voice breaking. "Now you ask us to trust our fate to chance, to your hobbit's strength. It is too much. Give it to me. Let me use it. I do not fear it." Frodo backs away, shaking his head, tears in his eyes. "You are frightening me, Boromir," he whispers. Boromir reaches, grabs. Frodo slips the ring on and vanishes. Boromir, in his anguish, shouts, curses, falls to his knees. In that moment, the choice is made. Frodo climbs the hill, sits upon the seat of seeing, and looks east. In the original tale, he saw Sauron's eye searching. Here he sees more. He sees the Pelennor fields already black with encampments. He sees the Ramas Echor, the outer wall of Minas Tirith, battered by siege towers. He sees the corsairs of Umbar sailing north, their black sails already beyond Pelagear, not as a last-minute surprise, but as part of a coordinated campaign. He sees Rohan's king beset not only by orc raids, but by Easterling mercenaries hired by Saruman with gold from Mordor. He sees Dale under assault from the east, dwarves and men fighting side by side against a tide of steel. He sees Sauron's eye, not frantic and searching, but focused and cold. It turns toward him, and he feels its will like a weight. "You are late," it says, without words. "You are small. You cannot reach me before my armies reach your friends. Give in. Spare them." Frodo's heart breaks. He loves his friends. He loves the Shire. He loves the idea of Minas Tirith, though he has never seen it. He takes off the ring. When Aragorn finds him, his decision is already made. "I must go alone," Frodo says, his voice trembling. "If I stay, the ring will destroy us all. If I go with you, you will be torn between me and your people. I must slip through while Sauron is looking elsewhere." Aragorn's eyes are full of conflict. He has seen the same visions in Galadriel's mirror. He knows that Gondor cannot stand long without a king. He also knows that without the ring's destruction, any victory will be ashes. "You will not be entirely alone," he says at last. "Sam will not let you go without him, and others may aid you on the way. My path lies with the world of men now. I must turn toward Rohan and Gondor. I must delay Sauron's hand as long as I can." Frodo nods, tears in his eyes. "Then this is where we part." On the shore below, Boromir fights and falls, pierced by many arrows as he defends Merry and Pippin from a band of Uruk-hai. His last words to Aragorn are still of Minas Tirith, but they carry a different weight. "They have come sooner than we thought," he gasps, blood bubbling on his lips. "They are at our gates. Save them. Save my people." Aragorn bows his head. "I will not let the White City fall while I live," he swears. The story now splits. Frodo and Sam slip eastward toward the Eamon Muil and the Dead Marshes, pursued by Gollum and by Sauron's distant awareness. Their path is much the same as in the original tale, but with a greater urgency. Every delay, every wrong turn feels heavier, because they know that while they stumble in the dark, armies clash and cities burn. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli pursue the Uruk-hai across the plains, as before. They still meet Éomer, still win his trust, but Rohan's situation is worse. When they reach the mark, they find not only burned farms, but small fortifications manned by Easterling mercenaries bearing Saruman's emblem alongside Sauron's eye. Wormtongue's influence in Meduseld is deeper. Theoden's eyes are more clouded. Gandalf's arrival at Edoras is more dramatic. He does not come as a lone wanderer with a staff. He comes with tidings of a world aflame. Isengard has joined with Mordor, he tells Theoden, his voice ringing in the hall. Their armies march together. They will not simply harry your borders. They will crush you, then turn on Gondor. You must ride now, not in days or weeks. Now. Theoden, freed from Wormtongue's spell, straightens, his age seeming to fall from him like a cloak. "Then we will ride," he says, "even if it is to our doom. Better to fall in the open field than rot in our halls." At Helm's Deep, the battle is fiercer. Saruman's Uruk-hai are reinforced by contingents from Mordor, sent north through secret passes. They bring with them new engines, battering rams tipped with steel, catapults that hurl not only stones, but pots of burning pitch. The Deeping Wall is not only breached by one blast at the culvert, it is pounded in multiple places, its defenders stretched thin. Gandalf still arrives at dawn with Éomer and the riders, charging down the slope. But the enemy they strike is larger, more disciplined. The victory is not as complete. Many more Rohirrim fall. The valley below is choked with bodies. Still, the west holds. In Gondor, the siege of Minas Tirith begins earlier, before the Rohirrim can fully muster. Sauron, unified, has coordinated his assaults. Black sails appear off the coast of Belfalas weeks sooner, corsairs of Umbar raiding Pelagia and Linhir, cutting off Gondor's southern support. Haradrim and Easterlings cross the Anduin in multiple places, not just at Osgiliath. The Ramas Ekor falls in days. Denethor, worn down by the Palantir and by the unrelenting tide of bad news, breaks sooner. He still sends Faramir to hold Osgiliath, but the force he faces is greater. Oliphants with armoured towers grind through the ruins. Easterling archers rain death from the far bank. Faramir is struck down and borne back to the city, barely alive. In the Houses of Healing, even as Aragorn later bends over him with Athelas, there is the sense of a world teetering on the brink. The ride of the Rohirrim still comes. Theoden still blows his horn at dawn, still leads his riders in a charge that shakes the Pelennor. But the field they ride onto is different. Instead of a single army of Mordor, they face a coalition. Haradrim cavalry wheel to meet them, their own horns sounding. Easterling chariots scythe through the grass. Trolls from the east lumber beside the Mumakil. The battle is a chaos of banners and blood. Eowyn still faces the Witch King. Merry still strikes from behind. The prophecy that no man will slay him is still fulfilled by a woman and a hobbit. The Witch King still falls, shrieking, his form dissolving. But his fall is felt more keenly in Barad-dûr. Sauron, in this timeline, has invested more of his command in the Nazgûl, using them as generals in his unified army. The loss of their captain shakes his control for a moment. Orders falter. Some units hesitate. Aragorn chooses that moment to reveal himself. He has come not only with the army of the dead from the paths of the dead, but also with a small fleet of ships he seized at Pelagir. The dead sweep through the corsairs, as in the original tale, but Aragorn, understanding the need for living soldiers, releases them sooner, allowing the men of the southern fiefs to join him. When the black sails appear on the Anduin, bearing the white tree instead of the red eye, a roar goes up from the walls of Minas Tirith. Hope, which had been a thin thread, flares. The battle turns, yet even in victory, there is a sense that they have only delayed the inevitable. Sauron's forces are vast. His lands are unbroken. His allies are many. In the Black Land, Sauron feels the sting of these setbacks, but he is not undone. He has been watching Frodo and Sam. Gollum, torn between his desire for the ring and his fear of Sauron, has been more deeply twisted by Mordor's active malice. When he was captured and tortured, Sauron's servants did more than extract information. They planted commands, triggers in his fragile mind. Shire, Baggins, he whispered. Hobbitses, they whispered back. If you see the ring again, they told him, you will take it. You will bring it to us, or you will die in fire. He escaped, as in the original tale, but with that compulsion gnawing at him. When he meets Frodo and Sam in the Emin Muil, his conflict is greater. He is drawn to Frodo's kindness, to the memory of what he once was. But he is also driven by fear of Sauron's wrath. His betrayal at Tirith Ungol is more deliberate, less the product of a sudden hurt. Shelob still strikes. Frodo still falls, wrapped in web and paralyzed. Sam still believes him dead, still takes the ring, still resolves to go on. In this world, the orcs of Cirith Ungol do not fall into such disarray. Their captains have been trained, their discipline improved. When they find Frodo in Shelob's lair, they do not squabble as much over his mithril coat. They send immediate word to Barad-dûr. "We have a halfling," the message says. "He bears no ring. Another must have it." Sauron laughs, a sound like grinding stone. "They are divided," he says. "The servant has taken the ring from the master. Good, let them struggle. We will take them both." He orders the Tower of Cirith Ungol reinforced. He sends more orcs, more trolls. He sets a Nazgul to watch the pass. Sam's rescue of Frodo is harder. The tower is more heavily guarded, its captains less foolish. But Samwise Gamgee, of all people, is the one factor Sauron has not accounted for in his careful calculations. Sam fights with a fury born of love. He slips through shadows, he stabs, he bluffs. He uses the ring sparingly, knowing its weight. He frees Frodo, battered but alive. Their climb up Mount Doom is the same and yet different. The sky is black, the air full of ash. The ground trembles with the forging of war. But in this world, Sauron's attention is more divided. At the Black Gate, the host of the West has come, as in the original tale, as a feint. Aragorn, Gandalf, Ilmer, Imrahil, Legolas, Gimli, and the others stand before the Morannon with a small army. Banners waving bravely in the poisonous wind. They know they cannot win a pitched battle. They are there to distract, to draw Sauron's eye. In the original timeline, Sauron was overconfident, believing the ring was at the gate. Here, he is more cautious. He knows the ring is near, but he has seen through the Nazgul that there are two hobbits, two possible bearers. He splits his attention, but not evenly. He still cannot fully comprehend that his enemies would seek to destroy the ring rather than use it. He still believes that the one who bears it will come to him, drawn by its power, or will fall and be taken. He does not expect that the ring-bearer will crawl, half dead, up the very slopes of Orodruin, intending to cast away the only thing that gives him power. At the crack of doom, the moment of failure is the same. Frodo, exhausted beyond words, stands at the edge. The fire roars below. The ring is heavy, its voice a hurricane in his mind. "Do not throw me away," it pleads. "You have come so far. Take me. Use me. You can end this war in a heartbeat. You can command the armies that now slaughter your friends. You can make a new world, one where no one laughs at hobbits." He breaks. "I will not do this deed," he says, his voice hollow. "The ring is mine." He puts it on. Sauron feels it at once. In Barad-dûr, the eye flares, blazing with exultation. "At last," he cries. "At last!" He turns all his thought toward the mountain. The Nazgul, who were wheeling over the Black Gate, sensing the ring there, are recalled instantly. They scream, turning in mid-air, their black steeds beating toward Orodruin. On the slopes, Sam stumbles, blind, calling Frodo's name. Gollum, crazed, leaps on the invisible form, biting, clawing. They struggle, as before, on the very lip of the abyss. Gollum's teeth sink into Frodo's finger. Blood sprays. The ring comes free. Gollum dances, triumphant, the ring on his hand. He slips. He falls. In the original world, this was the end. The ring was unmade, Sauron destroyed, his armies routed. In this world, there is a difference so small and so vast that it changes everything. The ring does not fall cleanly into the fire. As Gollum tumbles, his body strikes a jut of rock. The ring flies from his hand, spinning, glinting in the red light. It lands on a narrow ledge, inches from the churning lava, but not in it. For a heartbeat, it balances there, teetering. Sam sees it. Frodo, clutching his bleeding stump, sees it. Far away, Sauron feels its nearness to destruction and screams. No. The very mountain shakes. A fissure opens beneath Frodo's feet. He falls to his knees, his hand reaching. He can end it. He can flick the ring into the fire with a single motion. He hesitates. The pain in his hand is blinding. The loss of the ring's weight is like the loss of a limb. His mind reels. The voice that had filled his thoughts is gone, leaving a hollow that aches. He reaches and stops. "I cannot," he whispers. Sam looks at him, horror and compassion warring in his eyes. "Mr. Frodo," he says, tears streaming down his face. "Please, you have to. Think of the Shire. Think of Rosie. Think of all of them." Frodo's hands trembles over the ring. His eyes are wild. I am sorry, Sam," he chokes. "I am so sorry. I cannot. It is a part of me. I cannot kill it without killing myself." Sam understands. He understands too well. He also knows that if he takes the ring and tries to throw it, it will claim him instead. Behind them, the mountain groans. Lava splashes. The ledge shudders. Outside, at the Black Gate, the host of the West is surrounded. Trolls and orcs press in. Men fall. Aragorn fights like a man in a dream, his sword, Andúril, flashing, his banner torn. Gandalf, sensing something wrong, looks east, his face suddenly stricken. "He has failed," he whispers. Or not failed, but he cannot do it. Aragorn's heart sinks. He had gambled everything on that small hope. "What now?" he asks, parrying a blow that would have taken his head. Gandalf does not answer. He does not know. In Barad-dûr, Sauron's panic turns to cold resolve. The ring is not destroyed, he realizes. It is near, but safe. The mountain trembles, but it will not claim it without a will to cast it in. The halfling cannot do it. Good. I will take it myself. He pours his will into Orodruin, trying to still the convulsions, to hold the ledges together. The eye's gaze narrows, focusing all its might on that one place. The Nazgûl, shrieking, dive toward the summit. On the ledge, Frodo and Sam cling to the rock as the world shakes. The ring lies inches from the edge, glowing faintly. Sam makes a decision. He cannot take the ring. He cannot trust himself to hold it without being claimed. But he can move Frodo. He grabs his master by the shoulders. "Forgive me," he whispers. He shoves. Frodo's eyes go wide. For a moment, there is betrayal in them, hurt deeper than any wound. Then he falls backward into the fire. The ring, still inches from the edge, is caught by his flailing hand as he tumbles. It slips from the ledge with him, spinning, glinting, and then both hobbit and ring vanish into the lava. Sam screams, a sound that tears his throat. The mountain erupts. In Barad-dûr, Sauron's scream is louder. The eye flares, then implodes, collapsing in on itself like a dying star. The great tower cracks from crown to root. Its foundations, already strained by the forging of so much war, cannot withstand the shock. Barad-dûr falls. Across Mordor, the armies of Sauron falter. Orcs clutch their heads, howling, their wills suddenly unmoored. Trolls stagger. Men loyal to the eye look around in confusion as the sense of a commanding presence vanishes. At the Black Gate, the Nazgûl, diving toward Orodruin, are caught in the blast. Their forms flicker, shred, and are swept away in a wind of fire. The host of the West, on the brink of annihilation, watches as the great gate of Mordor cracks and collapses. The ground heaves, chasms open, orcs fall screaming into the abyss. The war is over, but the cost is different. In the original world, Frodo survived. He was maimed, scarred, but he lived to return to the Shire, to sail into the west. Here he dies in the fire, taking the ring with him. Sam is left alone on the slope of Mount Doom, the lava roaring below, the sky raining ash. He lies there, sobbing, his body racked with grief. He does not care that the mountain is collapsing. He does not care that the land around him is breaking. "I am sorry, Mr. Frodo," he whispers, over and over. "I am sorry. I am sorry." He feels a hand on his shoulder. He looks up, blinking through tears, expecting to see Frodo's face. Impossibly. Instead, he sees Gandalf. The wizard stands in white, his staff a point of light in the red gloom. How he reached the mountain so quickly, Sam does not know. Perhaps Gwaihir bore him. Perhaps there are paths known only to the Astari. It does not matter. Gandalf kneels, his own eyes wet. "You did what he could not," he says softly, "and what no one else could. You saved us all." "I killed him," Sam chokes. "I pushed him. I murdered my master." "You gave him the only end left to him," Gandalf answers. The ring would not let him go. He would have lived a half-life at best, torn between love and corruption. You freed him, and you freed the world. That is a burden you will carry, but you will not carry it alone. He lifts Sam in his arms as he once lifted Frodo. The mountain shakes, rocks fall, but a great eagle swoops down, its wings beating the ash-laden air. Gwaihir catches them up, bearing them away from the collapsing peak. Below, Mordor breaks. The plains of Gorgoroth crack open, swallowing forges and barracks. The Black Gate falls into ruin. The Ifil Dúth shake, their passes crumbling. The slaves in the quarries throw down their tools and stare at the sky, where the red glare is fading. In Minas Tirith, the sun breaks through the clouds for the first time in days. The people on the walls blink, then weep. The shadow that had lain on their hearts lifts, like a weight removed. Aragorn, standing amid the corpses on the Pelennor, feels it too. He sinks to his knees, his sword slipping from his hand. "It is done," he whispers. "At what cost, I do not yet know, but it is done." The immediate aftermath is a strange mixture of joy and grief. The West has survived. Sauron is gone. His armies, deprived of his will, scatter or surrender. Many orcs are hunted down and slain. Some flee into the dark places of the world, where they will trouble the edges of maps for generations, but never again as a united force. The men of Harad and Rhûn, who fought under Sauron's banner, find themselves leaderless on foreign soil. Some throw down their weapons and beg for mercy. Others fight on out of pride or fear. Aragorn, now King Elessar, makes a choice that will shape the new age. He remembers what he saw in Galadriel's mirror. Not only the cruelty of Sauron, but the grievances of the East. He remembers that Sauron did not create all hatred, he exploited it. He offers terms. To the captains of the South and East, he sends envoys with this message: Sauron is fallen. His promises are dust. You can go home, or you can die here. If you lay down your arms, I will not pursue you. If you wish, you may send ambassadors to Minas Tirith. We will speak of borders, of trade, of peace. The age of domination is ended. Let us see if an age of understanding can begin. Some spit at these words, some accept. Over years, slow, halting, often fraught, a new balance is born. It is not perfect. There are wars, skirmishes, betrayals. But there is also something that Middle-earth has not seen in an age: the possibility of men from West and East talking across a table instead of across a battlefield. In Rohan, Theoden is buried with honor. Eomer becomes king, Eowyn his shield and counselor. The scars of Helm's Deep and the Pelennor remain, but the mark heals. Horses run again on green fields. In Lorien, the shadow that pressed so hard against its borders withdraws. But Galadriel knows that her time is ending. With Sauron's fall and the ring's destruction, the power of the three also fades. The golden wood will diminish. She and Celeborn prepare to sail, but they do so, knowing that they held the line long enough for the world of men to survive. In Erebor and Dale, the survivors of the Eastern Assault rebuild. Bard's grandson, King Brand, and King Dain's heir, Thorin III, remember that they stood together against Rhûn. They sent envoys to Minas Tirith, forging a league of north and south. In the Shire, the news comes more slowly. Sam returns, but he returns alone. He walks through the West Gate, his pack on his back, his eyes older than his years. The Shire is green, untouched by war. There is no scouring here, for Saruman's power was spent elsewhere, in Rohan and Gondor. Sharky never came to Bag End. The gaffer is still at number 3, grumbling about potatoes. Rosie Cotton still dances at the Green Dragon. Children still chase fireflies in the warm evenings. When Sam appears at the party tree, people cheer. They had heard he went off on an adventure. They did not know what that meant. "Where is Mr. Frodo?" someone asks. Sam's throat tightens. He looks at the sky, where the stars are coming out. He could not come back, Sam says quietly. He had to go where we cannot follow. But he saved us, all of us. Even if you do not know it, they do not fully understand. How could they? But they see the grief in Sam's eyes, and they are gentle with him. He marries Rosie. They have children. He plants trees, many trees, some from the gift Galadriel gave him. The Shire grows even more beautiful. But on some nights, when the wind is from the east and carries a faint scent of smoke, Sam stands alone on the hill, looking out toward a darkness that is no longer there and feels a hollow ache. He hears Frodo's voice in his memory. "I am glad you are with me, Samwise Gamgee," it says. He whispers into the night. "I am sorry I had to let you go." In Minas Tirith, Gandalf stands on a balcony of the rebuilt White Tower, watching the sunrise over a world that has been remade. Aragorn joins him, his hair streaked with grey, his crown simple but heavy. "We have peace for now," Aragorn says. "The East is quiet. The South sends ambassadors instead of armies. The North thrives. Yet I cannot help but feel that something is less." "You miss the elves," Gandalf says. "You miss the high beauty that is leaving this world." "I miss Frodo," Aragorn answers. "I met him only briefly, but I feel that we stand on a foundation he built with his life, and he never saw this." Gandalf nods. In another strand of the world, he sailed into the west. He found healing. Here, he found another kind of ending. Both are bittersweet. Aragorn looks at him, startled. "Another strand?" Gandalf smiles, a little sadly. "There are many possible songs," he says. "This is the one we sing now. In this one, Sauron was more prepared. Mordor was united. The war was harder, the choices harsher. Yet still, a gardener's love saved the world. That is a constant I take comfort in. Will there be another darkness?" Aragorn asks quietly. "Another Sauron? Another war?" Gandalf's eyes go distant. "There will always be shadows," he says. "As long as there are hearts that can fear and hate, there will be those who seek to rule by them. But there will also be those who plant gardens, who tell stories, who choose mercy when vengeance is easier. The world will not be free of evil. It will be full of choices." He looks east, where the mountains of Mordor are now only jagged silhouettes against a clean sky. Sauron's unity of Mordor was a terrible thing. He continues. It made his war more deadly, but it also made his fall more complete. When he fell, there was no rival Dark Lord ready to take his place, no competing power to rise. The darkness was deep, but brief. The scars will last, but so will the memory of how they were made. In the east, beyond the Sea of Rhûn, a child of the Easterlings sits by a fire, listening to his grandfather tell of the time when they marched under the Red Eye. "We were promised glory," the old man says, his voice low. "We were promised vengeance on the West, but we were only pawns in another's game. Now the West speaks to us as equals. Remember this, no lord who demands your soul is worth your sword." The boy nods. He will grow up in a world where Gondor is not a distant enemy, but a trading partner. He will hear tales of hobbits and rings, of kings returned, of a war that shook the sky. He will not see Sauron's eye in his dreams. He will have his own choices to make. In the ruins of Barad-dûr, long cooled, a single stone arch still stands, black against the horizon. Vines have begun to creep over it. Birds nest in its cracks. The wind whistles through, carrying no whisper of command. Yet sometimes, on very still nights, if one stands there and listens, one might think one hears a faint echo. Not of Sauron's voice, not of the ring's temptation, but of something smaller, a hobbit's laughter far away. Samwise Gamgee, old and weary, sits in his chair by the fire in Bag End. His children sleep upstairs. Rosie has gone before him, her grave under a young malorn tree in the party field. He holds a book in his hands, the Red Book, its pages filled with Frodo's careful script and his own rougher hand. He has written their story as best he could. He has tried to make sense of choices that still haunt his dreams. He closes the book and looks at the mantel, where a small glass phial sits, empty of light. "I am tired, Mr. Frodo," he whispers, "but I am glad I saw the world you bought for us." He leans back, his eyes closing. He does not sail into the West in this world. The straight road is closed to him. He will die in the Shire, as he always expected to. Outside, the party tree rustles in the evening breeze. The stars wheel overhead, indifferent and eternal. Far to the east, the sun will rise tomorrow over lands that once marched under the Red Eye and now wake to their own dawns. The Age of Men has begun, forged in a war that was sharper and shorter because Mordor was united before it started. The memory of that unity lingers, a warning. On the edge of the old Gorgoroth plain, now slowly greening with hardy grasses and scrub, a single stone juts from the earth, half buried, black and glassy. A shepherd from Nirn kicks at it idly as he passes, not knowing what it once was. The stone does not speak. It reflects only the sky. And in that silent reflection, for those who know how to look, there is the faintest suggestion of a small hand letting go.